Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. So I'm actually going to try something different this evening and show you all that I actually know more than just dividends. And I'm actually going to cover my infamous THB budget template. Before we do that, though, I just wanted to give a shout out to the fact that TSLY finally had a decent day. So I figured I'd put on this hat that they sent me for about 5 seconds, and then we can go for the rest of the video without it. So with that being said, I'm actually going to go over a budget template that I've sent out in real life to various individuals. And it's going to have last year's dates on it. But the budget template you're going to see assumes like a $65,000 income, median income for the United States, basically, whether you believe the median income numbers or not. And it's gonna really be high level, but manageable at the same time. And the reason I want to show this is because with the ever increasing cost of living, I hear a lot of people complaining about how they're having a hard time making ends meet and that it's just becoming more and more of a struggle just to get by. So, budgeting, like I've always said, no matter how much, um, no matter what level you're at in life, no matter how much money you make, it's always good to track your expenses to know what you're spending and know what you have coming in, know all of your expenses. And for me, it's more or less of an efficiency thing. Like, I don't like to just throw money away. I like to feel efficient. And I think a lot of you are like-minded as well. So we've got Hound on. He says spend it all. That's one alternative. But anyway, so without further ado, we're going to go into the famous THB budget template. So let's see here. Okay, so here we go. So this was a template for the year 2022, actually, but still relevant for this year. And what you'll notice, you're going to see a lot of green and red, which makes sense, you know, green, red, just like investing. Now, what you're going to see, these bars actually look like candles on a candlestick chart, but they're not. These are months in a year. So we've got January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. Now, in this budget template, this is very similar to what me, the coach, uses in real life. And basically, the green represent months that there's money left over in the budget or there's a surplus, something our government wouldn't know much about, that are in the hole. So this is a simplified version of what the coach uses in real life. So you'll notice here, I'm hoping the screen's not too small. Let me know in the comments if y'all can see it, okay? And what I'm thinking about doing is probably getting a Patreon going or something, and then I'll have, because I have many different spreadsheets, and I could actually, for like a monthly fee, post these on there, and then you all could use them too. And these are all going to be part of my book, which is going to eventually come out. Can't promise a date at this point. It should have been ready September 15th, but that didn't happen. But anyway, so what you'll notice here, there's many different buckets of expenses here. And off to the side, you'll see in column R, a credit card rewards tracker. So by the end of this video, I think that you all might really like this. You might find this, some of you might find this an ingenious way of managing your finances, because you'll see that many of my bills are actually on credit cards so that I get rewards. So you won't actually see a bill for everything, but you'll see a credit card. So if we start with the month of January, the first thing that you'll notice is a big fat mortgage payment. And that is in the template 1725. The second line item you'll notice is a monthly HOA fee. The third line item you'll notice is a Wells Fargo Cashwise credit card payment. The fourth line item is a Capital One credit card payment. The fifth line item is the City Costco card payment. The sixth line item is a water bill. The seventh line item is actually a life insurance premium. The eighth line item is a US Bank Go rewards payment. Now, here's the thing. When budgeting, you're going to have cyclical expenses and non-cyclical expenses. So the ninth line item actually happens to be a registration renewal, which occurs in the month of January. And that's actually paid directly out of a checking account to avoid fees and stuff like that. So that's the registration sticker every year that has to be renewed. And then the 10th line item is a Verizon Visa card. This is definitely outdated because this card happens to be where my cell phone bill goes, and the cell phone bill is double what it was in this one, because there was a time in the good old days, I guess you could say, a year or two ago, where the mobile phone bill was only like $47.50 or so, because I had an older iPhone. But now it's like 95 or so. But I get points on the card that offset or defray the bill a little bit because I have a newer phone, I have those phone payments on there. And then utilities bill. Actually, now that I'm looking this over again, this looks very dated because utilities have definitely gone up. I mean, comparatively speaking, this utility bill is very unrealistic looking now. It was probably even unrealistic for back then, but things were a lot cheaper a couple of years ago, shall we say. So, and then at the bottom here, the way this template works, it basically sums up all the expenses and assumes a net income of 2 paychecks of $2,000 a month. So a $4,000 basically net income after taxes and whatnot. Plus, this assumes for the month of January, like $1,000 bonus, because most jobs do bonus and comp in the early part of the year. So in this month, after all the expenses were paid, there would be $1,038 left over. And so everything I told you for the month of January, you can see the same thing for February, March. So 10 out of the 12 months of the year have a surplus. Only 2 of them do we overrun the expenses. And again, I made this more of a template version, assuming an average income, or not an average, but like a median US income. So nothing in here can be assumed to be like personal information. This is considered to be a template. But you'll notice in the month of April, April is one of our favorite days of the year, which happens to be tax day. So you'll notice a tax payment from the prior year here, which actually would take us into the hole for the month of April. And then you'll see some other expenses here. You'll see some different credit cards like Wells Fargo, Propel. So basically, for me, the coach, most of my bills go on to various credit cards to get the rewards points. And in column R, these are all tracked over here to where there's like almost $200 of credit card rewards coming in over here. Now, I should do a more recent version of this. This spreadsheet can get to be a little complicated to keep updated because you have to do it ideally once a month, but sometimes I fall a few months behind, and then I'll just catch up, just manually type in basically everything that it shows in my checking account when I log in, type in all those expenses, and you can pretty much get ahead of yourself. And when you know, if you have all your bills on auto pay, you can pretty much know what your bills are going to be for the month, and you can type these in and you can basically know where you're going to be. You can have a run rate for each month, have things very well planned out. So the other thing you'll notice, the month of November is month 2 that's in the red, because this actually has our second favorite day of the year, which is actually not Thanksgiving Day, but it happens to be the day that property taxes are dispersed out. And so for me, now this, again, this is a template, but for me, I go ahead and pay them all at once because it's the cheapest to do. But that's a pretty big chunk for where I live. It's a pretty big expense. Actually, the property tax almost equals, actually, it's higher than the monthly HOA fee. And because of an HOA, we get really nothing from the county that we live in. But it happens to be one of the biggest counties in the state of Florida. So needless to say, it's a pretty huge expense that hits at once. So that takes the month of November into the red here. Now, hopefully everyone is awake and excited, because I know how exciting budget templates can be. To answer your question, Damon, this is a personal finance channel. Before I got into YieldMax, I used to actually cover all things personal finance. It's in the channel description. It is a financial coaching channel after all. So there are times that we're going to deviate from yield max and from stocks. But what does it have to do with stocks? Well, whatever money's left over after expenses are covered, guess what you get to do with? You get to invest it, right? Not blow it and other stuff, but invest it, right? So that's where the stocks would come into play. But anyway, so you mean you'd rather have a video tour of the house instead of the famous THB budget template? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe if I get some super chats, which I haven't had super chats in like 2 months now. It's sad. Makes me want to cry a little bit. All right. So back to this. So it looks like this is not going to let me scroll all the way over to the right. Let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can open in a new window here. Here we go. Okay. Now I should be able to play around with this a little bit more. Let me check the screen share. And since Damon is so excited about going over budgets, I'll scroll over to the right and show the really cool part, which is annual income. And let's see, where am I? Let's see here. Let me see if this is actually scrolling over. Come on. Oh, here we go at the bottom. All right. So let me make sure this is showing properly here. And then, okay. So the columns all the way to the right. Oh man, that's a bummer. You're down, wow, 70,000. Are you still dollar cost averaging down? Anyway, I wasn't mentioning you. You've definitely super chatted before, but just in general, I mean, it's they kind of dried up. But anyway, yeah, see? So I used to cover all these personal finance things, but by the way, I did try the shorts experiment. So far, it didn't help with the sub count, so we'll keep trying. One thing that worked for me in the past was doing ridiculous dividend scenarios, like coming up with, a $10,000 investment turning into $1 million. It's getting about the same amount of views that a normal live stream gets, so I'll keep experimenting around, but trying to get the channel out of the rut a little bit and growing again. But anyway, so back to budgets. So in columns T through V is the exciting part. So this is where basically all the monthly columns in this spreadsheet are all summed up in column T. So you'll see total actual expenses, what they add up to. And then in cell T30 and T31, you'll see total outflow, total inflow, and then net, over, and under. So those of you that have kind of an accounting mindset, you'll love this because it's done just like a regular budget, right? What's left is your surplus in the black, and if it's in the red, it's a deficit. So what we'll see, and I haven't done a video on this since I started as a YouTuber. I want to say it's been actually over 2 years since I did a budget video. But with a lot of the feedback I've gotten the last week or so, we've definitely got to get some of you in line in terms of budgeting. Because with the high cost of living, budgeting is definitely, I would say, more important than ever at this point. So now this template assumes actual expenses totaling $38,842. So in this situation, the mortgage is probably what's definitely more than half. Yeah, it's more than half of the yearly expenses. So 20,000 divided by 38,842 is 51%. Now the next ones are the Capital One, Wells Fargo, 2 Wells Fargo cards, Citi, Costco. These are all credit cards that monthly bills go on. And then the monthly VUL insurance premium, which I would not recommend. VULs are a massive ripoff in my opinion. HOA fee, water bill, this Amex. You all know how I feel about Amex, so I obviously stopped using that one. And then 2 U.S. bank cards, Capital One, tax payment for the prior year, utilities. This budget's definitely dated. These expenses are a lot higher now. Bank of America, Verizon, Chase Freedom, Chase Sapphire, Chase Amazon, property taxes. And then what you'll notice, now here's the important part, since we mainly talk about investing on this channel, this is where the bottom, once we've taken care of all of our expenses, we have what's called payroll deductions, which includes your annual max out for your 401k, which I highly recommend everybody that's employed in the corporate world or in any kind of a job. I highly recommend that you max out your 401k. So, all right, and Cecilia is on. Welcome. Dividend Investor Forever. Do you have a public Discord server link? Check the community tab. Scroll down a little bit. You're going to have to go probably several lines down and you'll see the link. Anyway, all right, so why is this so important to the bottom right of the spreadsheet here? So because these buckets are where you're going to grow your money. So, and again, you can tell this is dated because when this was done, the 401k max out was still 19,500, whereas now it's 3,000 higher, it's 22,500. So I'll come back with a more updated version of this. At the time, health insurance was cheap back then, $1,000 for medical insurance for one. Social Security deduction, Medicare, and again, this is a template, so this isn't necessarily real info. Medicare deduction, dental. So this budget assumes basically, so it's counting the payroll deductions as expenses and actual expenses. So when you sum these two together, you get, so it assumes a salary of $68,500, and assuming you're spending most of it between these buckets, which are actually savings, like the 401k and whatnot, then you're left with 2,840 or 2,840 over. So you have a surplus of almost $3,000. So you could take that, invest it into a Roth, use it for other stuff or whatnot. And then this doesn't factor in anything as far as your investments. Your investments, which at the bottom here, 401k gain, you can track to be decided, the TBD. Other dividends assumed at this yearly scenario here at 5,000. Now, ESPP stands for Employee Stock Purchase Plan, if you have one of those. So this scenario assumed another $6,350 in dividends. So you could combine that with your almost $3,000 surplus in your budget, and that could be almost 10 grand left over to then take and max out the Roth IRA. But as you can see, this is a very efficient scenario where everything that you're spending is properly allocated and there's really no waste. You're getting credit card rewards. It would be nice, like if the mortgage could go on a 5% back credit card, because that one being over 20 grand, 5% of that, that'd be another $1,000 in your pocket if you could put that on some kind of a rewards credit card. But anyway, so assuming, like this scenario shows here, a $4,000 monthly income, that would be $48,000 on the $68,500. That would be a pretty decent annual budget template. So let me know what you all think of that. I know budgets aren't the most exciting subject, but we'll see how this video does. I want to definitely branch out into other things. So this is kind of a test run. We'll see, you know, obviously how this video does. But really, that's it for today. So, like I said, I may get a Patreon going or whatnot where I'll put these spreadsheets. If you all like that, definitely give me your feedback on that. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for tuning in, and take care and have a great evening.